Welcome to the Great Man Within podcast. Every episode is designed to help you discover and live the great man within you. Fellas, I'm about to bring you behind the curtain of my inner world because I'm going to be practicing live and real time on this episode a meditation technique that has been one of the most powerful meditation practices I've ever done in order to show up as the best version of myself each and every day. This is called the Board of Directors meditation practice. Now, many of you who've been listening to the show for a while may remember that I did an episode a year ago. It's actually been one of the most referenced episodes that I've ever done, called the Board of Directors for Your Emotions meditation technique. I will link that episode in the show notes. That meditation practice asks you to envision being a chairman sitting at the head of a big boardroom table where each of the chairs are filled with different emotions that exist inside of you in the present moment. So one chair may be represented by anger, another by jealousy, another by frustration, another one by bliss, and another one by gratitude, another one with contentment, another one with joy. The purpose of that is to give space for emotions to actually exist and to communicate with you. The idea there is that every emotion brings with it some wisdom and a message for you that oftentimes we don't hear because we're racing through our lives or because we don't think that anger needs to express itself or that'd be wrong. But when we sit in stillness and actually speak to those emotions and say, what message do you have for me? We may find that anger is there because a boundary of yours has been violated or a value has been impeded upon. And just through that awareness, that message has been delivered, the anger can dissolve. And that has been a really powerful practice that we've used in the masterminds that many of you have told me has changed your life with respect to navigating your emotions. That's an amazing practice that I highly encourage you to implement right away, especially if you're feeling blocked or if you're feeling a troubling emotion that just won't leave you. This practice that I'm about to do for you and demo for you is different. It's called the Board of Directors meditation practice. And this is an invitation for you to assemble a board of directors, parts of you that guide your life. For me, I've identified 4 parts of me that I want advice, guidance from as I go throughout each and every one of my days. Those 4 parts are my great man, my mind, my heart, and my cock. These are 4 very influential parts of me that when I tune into them in the morning first thing and I speak to them and very clearly call them forward and then hold them in my awareness, not just during the practice, but throughout the course of the day, then I operate at a high level, best version of myself. And the final part of this is that I also like to add this last piece. I'm currently working on cultivating more joy and more pleasure in my life. Now, I've optimized my life, right? I know what it's like to have morning routines, evening routines, meditation practices, recovery time, my health and my fitness dialed in, having loving relationships in my life. Like I've optimized many areas of my life. But the one area of my life I have not prioritized, that I have not really worked on, is actually like cultivating pleasure, joy, childlike excitement in my life. And as I've been speaking about this to the men's groups, the masterminds, I've noticed a lot of men have resonated with it. And that famished hunger for that freedom, that childlike excitement in our lives is something that just won't happen by itself. Like we have to actually call that in and work on it, just like we do our health and our fitness and our morning routines and our habits. So at the end of this board of directors meditation, you will hear me start to cultivate this new need around, or new desire around pleasure and joy in my life. So before I go into practice, I will encourage you to listen intently to how I speak to these 4 parts of me. I do actually speak these out loud when I'm at home alone. I would encourage you to try and do that too. If you live with other people and they think you're a crazy person, you could do that, in silence in your own head. But even just like whispering it out loud makes it more tangible, I've found, and it creates a different emotional connection. And you don't have to be beholden to those 4 parts that I mentioned, my great man, mind, heart, cock. You can call forward any board of directors that you desire Keith Bracci talks to his magician. He talks to this inner mother, this queen nurturing power that allows him to know that he's loved. Whatever works for you, those parts of you, and those can change depending on the day and depending on the practice. So now I'm going to drop into a meditative state here, and I'm going to take a deep breath in. Ground my feet on the floor, and I'll invite you to listen with me. To my great man, calling you forward, my king, my guide, the fullest potential version of who I am, the once unlived life within me, who I live more and more of every day. We are one and the same and yet different. I aspire to be you. You are the one who has lived through it all, has seen it all. The one who has endured the trials and the tribulations and come out stronger on the other side. You are the one who takes decisive action, who is courageous in the face of fear, the one who leads 10 million men, the one who has pledged his allegiance to a higher power, the one without ego. You are the one who emanates love and walks into every room, and people feel your love, your power. You are the one who guides me in times where I lose my faith, where I rely too heavily upon my will. You teach me how to surrender and to trust. You are the one who creates environments where not only you, but everyone around you can thrive. And you show me how to do so in every waking moment of my day. You are the one who enjoys life, who wakes up in the morning and the first thing that you experience is the pleasure and joy of being alive, even before your eyes open. You are just as comfortable in being and doing nothing as you are in taking massive action. I call you forward into my awareness today to guide me in all things big and small. To my mind, my beautiful supercomputer, you are the one who organizes, who calculates, who remembers, who reminds. You are my source of discipline, willpower, and execution. You are extraordinary in your abilities. And for many years of my life, you provided me safe haven when I couldn't handle the emotions of my heart, when I was overwhelmed by the pain. You allowed me to escape into you. And I asked you to do things that you were not built to do. And you performed that service for decades of my life admirably. And now I'm going to ask you, I'm going to relieve you of the responsibility of keeping me safe, because I've built a capacity to feel the emotions of my heart. I have new tools now. And so there are many times over the course of the day where you have been trained to dive in, to jump in, to problem solve, where I will ask you to remain silent, because I am building a new relationship with my heart. I want to feel. I've learned how to handle. And I will allow you to go back to doing what you are excellent at. The execution, the calculating, the distilling, the remembering, the reminding. I am so grateful for you and your abilities. I'm grateful for you for providing me safe haven. And I am grateful that you are allowing me to cultivate a deeper relationship with my heart. To my heart, the symphony and orchestra of my life, you provide the musical score of my existence turning my life from black and white into technicolor. You are the one that produces emotions both subtle and explosive, and everything in between. You are the one that allows me to feel the joy of seeing a child eating an ice cream cone, or feeling the tremendous grief of loss, of sadness. You are the one that makes life worth living. For I went many decades afraid of you, afraid of your powers and your abilities. I was overwhelmed, and so I shut you down. I refused to feel. I was scared of you. And so I escaped into my mind. And for many years, I wouldn't allow you to communicate with me. But that's changed. You are now the source of my intuition, my guidance system. As I've allowed more of you to reveal yourself to me, I followed your path and made decisions in my life based on the information that you communicate. Through you, I've learned how to trust. I've learned how to build empathy and intimacy with those around me and bringing them closer. Where for so many years, I felt isolated and alone on an island. And now I'm ready for the next level of allowing in all of the subtleties and the powerful sensations and feelings that you're capable of feeling. As I say this, I feel fear. I remember what it was like to be a child, to have no filter, no governor on, to feel the intensity of feelings in my life. Those joys were explosive. Those sadnesses and disappointments often felt crippling. But I know now that I have inner structures to withstand it all. And so I ask that you turn the volume up. I will create space for you to communicate with me. I will be listening. And I love you. And to my cock, my pleasure center, the king of my creation, you are the one who brings life into this world. For many years, I relied so heavily upon you to help me navigate the tumultuous waters of anxiety, overwhelm, shame, loneliness, sadness, stress. I worked you hard, and I put you in places that you didn't want to go. I needed you to help me numb out the tornado and swirl of fearful emotions and pain and sadness, until you realized that I had grown strong enough, and you started communicating with me and telling me that I couldn't use you in the same way. And for a while, I was angry with you when you wouldn't perform in situations that were no longer healthy for me. I thought there was something wrong with you. And I got mad at you, when instead you were showing me that a new day was being born, that something healthier was emerging, and that I was going through a transition that I couldn't quite understand. And here you are now, as strong as you've ever been, very clearly communicating to me what a healthy situation is for me and what is an artifact of the past that you are no longer interested in. I am listening to you now, and I love you for your guidance. And when I invite you forward to the table, or when you show up, I will also connect with my heart, bringing that awareness and that connection of the best parts of me together. And I also recognize that the energy that you bring can be used for creation of all kind, not just sexual. When I feel you start to stir and I feel the energy of you circulating in my body, I will use that energy to create, to dream, to envision. And I thank you for all that you've provided throughout my life and for what you will provide today. To my board of directors, my great man, my mind, my heart, and my cock, be with me today as I cultivate this pleasure and sense of joy and aliveness in my life. I'm learning how to tap back into that childlike excitement that allowed me to be curious with life, fascinated by life, awe-inspired, to feel the electricity in my body when something interests me or intrigues me or fascinates me. I want to allow it all in. I know that as a child, when I felt all of that, it made life worth living. But also I felt the crippling blow of disappointment or heartbreak that soon followed many of those exciting moments, and I closed down. I ask my board of directors to keep me open. As life throws its experiences at me, I want to feel it all. I'm ready for it. And I will create space to allow those emotions, those feelings in, whether they're blissful or painful. Thank you for being with me today and each and every day. And fellas, that's the end of my practice. Hopefully, you had a chance to hear how much came up for me, with each of those four parts of me: my great man, my mind, my heart, my cock, and then closing with an intention for what I want to cultivate in my awareness over the course of the day. And many of those things that you heard me share today, I've said before, but many of the things that you heard me say today were specific to today. What was present for me now in my awareness. And it didn't start so fluidly. You may find that as you try this for the first time, that it's difficult to communicate with those parts of you where things don't flow. And that's okay. Just create the space and the ritual on a daily basis or every couple of days to commune with those parts of you that you want to call forward and have with you throughout the course of the day. And as you also may have heard, I'm working on a relationship with my mind where I used to be really angry at my mind for never shutting up, for not allowing me to feel my emotions. And when I kept beating it to telling it to shut up, it just got louder. So I've actually developed this really compassionate relationship with my mind to say, hey, I realize why you are how you are, because I escaped to you for 20 years of my life when I didn't want to feel my feelings. And I asked you to do something that you weren't built to do, and you provided me a safe haven. So thank you for that. And now I'm going to ask you to go back to doing what you're great at doing, which is the calculating, the thinking. It's been said that the mind is a wonderful servant and a terrible master, right? It could be a dictator. And for me, it was a terrible master for many years of my life. Not terrible. It was the master that I needed because I wasn't ready to handle the emotions in my heart. And after a point in time, it just became just unfulfilling, colorless in my inner world. And so now I'm asking my mind to stay in its lane. And it's been responding to that kind of communication. And as I speak to my heart and ask it to provide more emotions, to turn the volume up where I'd muted it in the past, it has brought that forward. And when I speak to my great man, knowing that he's there every single day, it reminds me that I've got this aspirational vision of who I want to become. And when he's there with me every single day, when I find myself in a fork in the road of how will I behave? Is it the present day version of me, or am I going to be behaving for my great man? I choose my great man more and more often when that awareness of him is there on the regular. And then finally, you guys know that I've had a lifelong relationship with my cock that's been quite tumultuous. And I've been out of control and in many parts of my life. But now I'm developing a loving relationship with that part of me where the creative aspects, the intimate aspects are what I'm calling forward. And when I do this each and every day with these four board of directors members, then I develop an empowered, generative, and conscious relationship with each of them, an intentional one. So where I'll leave you is with the practice of designing who are your board of directors that you want to call forward. You may even call forward a loved one, right? Someone who has passed, maybe like a sibling or a parent, someone who like a spiritual teacher. You can call forward anyone that you want, any part of you that you want that feels good for you to provide you guidance on your daily basis. I would encourage you, the one thing I would encourage you is to make your great man a part of that board of directors. The only way that you will ever really start to radically accelerate your development in pursuit of unifying with that great man is if you call on him on a regular basis. So if you put this into practice, let me know about it. Send me a DM on Instagram. Reach out to me via email. Pop something in the Facebook group chat. I'll link that in the show notes also. And use this board of directors meditation to change your life.